It's a big challenge for you building up an IT company that way.
Not really. You could really boil business down to two things. If you just simply focus on doing those two things, you're basically set, right? There's nothing really you need to do outside of those two things.
Shay Phelps is here today, folks. Shay, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So Shay, let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
What inspired you to start your company, and what are the main services that it offers?
Absolutely. So when I was younger, started off, I worked at a boat yard, basically picking up blocks and detailing boats, washed windows for a little bit, and I learned pretty early on that I kind of wanted to work for myself. So around 16 years old, it must have been right when I got my car, I started an iPhone repair business, a mobile iPhone repair business. Cool. So we would order a bunch of screens and just go around and fix phones all day. And that kind of taught me the fundamentals of business. I loved the highs and I loved the lows. And I realized it just solidified for me that I always kind of want to do my own thing. So we kind of had it in with a family friend who owned a medical practice. And they were like, hey, Shay, we're having some IT problems. The owner, I swear I'd fixed his phone like 20 times. He was really hard on our stuff. So the office manager was like, we loved working with you on the phone stuff. Could you take a look at our IT? And I said, absolutely, I'd love to. And with this specific case, it was kind of a big problem. They were actually losing money because of an IT problem. And out of all the reasons a business can lose money, I don't think IT should ever be on the list, right? So they had an x-ray machine, and it would just go down like multiple times per day. So a patient would come in, ready for a CT scan or an x-ray. I think it was technically a CT scan, but they had to turn the patient away because it wasn't working, which obviously caused a ton of frustration for the patient and a ton of frustration for the practice. So getting that fixed for them was just a really eye-opening experience for me, just to see how IT can actually transform a business. As far as what we actually do, so a little bit of industry knowledge here. There's somewhat of a spectrum when it comes to IT. Over on this side, you've got a business model called break fix, which is actually a lot like iPhone repair. If something breaks, you go fix it. A computer breaks, you go fix it. On the other side, you have something called internal IT, which is exactly what it sounds like. You hire your own IT people the same way you hire your own salespeople, your own marketing people. Now, internal IT is actually the best way to do it, but it's insanely expensive to do it properly because you need multiple teams with multiple people on each team. And that's just not feasible for a lot of businesses that are under 500 or 1,000 employees. Now, in the middle, we have an MSP. It stands for Managed Service Provider. And that's what we are. So essentially what MSPs do is they build their own internal IT team. So for example, at Nautic's, we have a cybersecurity team that's fully staffed, and we have a network team that's fully staffed. And then MSPs lease that IT department out to businesses that need more support, more reliability, more technical expertise than a break-fix shop can provide. But at the same time, don't want to go and hire 54 people for their 100-person company on the IT side of things. It's just not feasible. So that's a little bit about how I got started and what we do as a company.
So Shay, how many teams do you have over there?
So we have 18 teams right now. Cyber, network, system administration, print management is actually one. We work with printers, of course. Everyone is frustrated with printers, but we're happy to service those as well.
Are you self-taught on all this IT fixing? How did you come about learning how to do all that?
Yeah, I've just always been in love with technology. I went to school for computer engineering and electrical engineering down at Mankato State University, if you're familiar with Minnesota at all. But I just always loved technology. And me, myself, I was fully self-taught. I had a minor in computer information systems, but the people on my team are way smarter than I am when it comes to technical abilities. So I'm really grateful to have them there.
Yeah, you always got to make sure there's people around. You drive the ship, let everybody else do the technical stuff, and get those smart people in there.
Absolutely. It's good to have people that are way smarter than you. I wouldn't trade that for the world.
There you go. Now, you work with mostly small and medium-sized businesses. Within that space, is there any ideal customer that you have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we started off, it was more on the smaller side of companies. And another little piece of industry knowledge nugget here, MSPs kind of always go on headcount or employee size or company size. We don't really deal in like company revenues or any of those other metrics. So you'll hear me touch on headcount a lot. When we started, 10 to 20 employees was kind of our ICP. So we were helping small family offices, small insurance agencies, small other medical practices. And we actually identified an opportunity to solve a bigger problem for companies. In order to do that, we had to move up market a little bit. So we moved from 10 to 20 employees to 100 to 250 employees is kind of our sweet spot right now. And the reason we settled on that range is because when companies are in that range, they're faced with a pretty unique problem. So they have the needs for a full IT person, full-time IT person. They have the need for like Tim in IT, like they need Tim, but they don't have the revenue yet to hire 50 people. And why would they? They only have 150 in the first place. So they have options. They can hire Tim in IT, but then they have, like 18 teams trying to stuff into Tim and IT. It's not possible. It's not feasible. One man cannot do the work of 50 people. Trust me, I wish they could. So they can hire Tim and IT. They could hire an MSP, but then they lose out on that person in the office. They don't have Tim and IT anymore, and IT is completely outsourced. The third option they can do is this hybrid thing where they hire internally and then they also have an MSP. But then you're in this weird like no man's land where this is taken care of and this isn't, and this and that are on this team and this and that are on the internal person. And it's just not as seamless as it could be. So we identified that problem, and the solution we came out with is something called the IT champion. So what we do at Nautix is we place someone full-time, 40 hours a week at a client site. We hire them, we train them, we retain them. They're a Nautix employee, but they're placed full-time at the client's site. So 100% of their bandwidth is dedicated to that client. That is the client's internal champion. So the client gets the resource. It's what they've always wanted. But we also have all those teams we talked about on the MSP side. So they have the cyber team. They get the best of the both worlds. But the beautiful thing is there's 100% alignment and synergy between the IT champion and the MSP. It's not disconnected anymore because it's literally the same company servicing the client. So that's what we identified, and we brought it to market, and people are absolutely loving it. So it was really cool to identify that issue and then put together a solution that people seem to love.
That's awesome, Shay. So walk me through it. So when somebody comes to you and they say, I think I need your services, I'm not too sure. Walk me through the process, say you take people through when you bring them on into your company.
Absolutely. So it's admittedly a pretty long sales cycle. It's long on the prospect side because, of course, they need to do a proper evaluation of all their options. And it's long on our side because we want to make sure that we can deliver on all the things that we promise. So it starts off your typical discovery call, but I mean, there's multiple calls, probably around 10 calls before we bring a client to close. And there's multiple steps. There's audits we do, there's solutions, possibilities we provide, but it's pretty long at the end of the day. Ultimately, if the client decides to come on, we do a real round of recruiting in their geographical area. So that's how we find that IT champion wherever they are. And then, of course, it's all the normal recruiting stuff is wrapped up too. So we make sure they have industry experience. We make sure they're a good fit for the client. The client actually gets to choose ultimately who their IT champion is. And then at the end of the day, if they don't like them, we can swap them out for another champion, and they still have all the MSP stuff on the back end as well.
So that's a real challenge for you then, Shay. You're out there, it doesn't matter where in the United States that company is, you're going to find somebody local to that area that's an IT champion. And it sounds like you have to find more than one somebody so that that company can then choose from a few different people.
Yeah, absolutely right. We basically act as a recruiting and a staffing firm for that brief period of time where we're making sure that they have the right fit for their company.
It's a big challenge for you building up an IT company that way.
Not really. Great talent is global, and great talent is all across the United States. So it actually really hasn't been a challenge for us at all.
That's excellent. Definitely a good plus for the companies who don't want to spend that kind of money on an employee, because now you're taking care of all the employee payroll.
Absolutely right. They don't have that managerial overhead. They don't have the administrative overhead. People don't like to hire IT people. I totally get it. So if we can give someone the resource without any of those pain points, I mean, it's a big win for the client.
What challenges do you see your clients facing when they come to you?
So it's a really, really good question. A lot of times people view IT as a cost center. They view IT as an expense that they have to pay at the end of the month, a box that they have to check. Now, we really try to spin that hard and turn IT into a force multiplier, as we call it, something that can actually make your business money. So take that example that we talked about with the CT machine. They weren't even really in a position where they could make more money. They were actively losing money because of a gosh darn IT problem. Like I said, that should never be on the list of problems to have. So solving problems like that and viewing IT as like a true profit center for your business is, I think, just a simple mind frame switch that people can make to really view IT in a different light. Another really common problem I see is I've been doing this for around 10 years at this point, and we have cumulatively decades of more experience. So I've had a lot of these conversations when I sit down with people. The second most common thing I see is people try to hire Tim in IT and then expect him to do the work of 50 people because he's the IT guy. He can take care of cyber and networking and user support. And that's no fault of the client. It's just what I see. So I think those are two really common problems that a lot of people run into in the IT space.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, Shay. That is. How did you manage to build up your team over time? What you started with yourself, and then where did that go?
Yeah, we're 100% bootstrapped right now. So no outside capital, no outside investors, no debt financing. 100% bootstrapped. Just slowly building up over the years and looking to grow. I think ultimately, maybe 5 to 10 years down the road, we'll probably switch from acquiring our own clients to more of a M&A, mergers and acquisitions thing, and start buying up other MSPs. But that's like 10 years down the line.
So you got out and you found all these teams yourself, all these people yourself on that. So eventually, you're thinking maybe to find other mini teams of people and just bring them in so that you've got many more teams.
Yeah, it's more buying clients at that point in time. I mean, you're in the franchise space, which I know is somewhat adjacent to M&A. I know they're fundamentally very different, but I'm sure they play on the same field sometimes. So you're really just buying lists of clients. So we'll have our MSP and we'll absorb basically the clients from another MSP. And then instead of growing organically, you grow through M&A.
Definitely a good way to grow when you're bringing in those clients and the talent at the same time.
Exactly. We just need a lot more capital than we have now to do that.
What other challenges are people having? What are some of your case studies that you've helped people with?
Yeah, so the first one that we mentioned, that medical practice, was just a really big eye-opener for me. So I'm really happy to share that story. And we have actually a ton of case studies on our website. And it's usually along the lines of people that just don't know what's even possible when it comes to IT. And then we come in and kind of open their eyes the same way my eyes were opened during that first interaction with my first client. And they're just blown away. Going back to that previous point, they viewed IT as a cost center. They thought it was something they had to have, and they didn't make it work for their business, which was no fault of their own because they didn't even know it was possible in the first place. So anytime I get to see someone's eyes open, it's an amazing experience for me.
That is cool, yeah. And I'll put the website out there so folks can go out there and check out his Shay's case studies.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you there.
Yeah, I looked at a couple of them there, and they're pretty good on that. And you also help your businesses from digital threats as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Cybersecurity, especially in 2024, it's just ever increasing threats. It just gets scarier and scarier every day. That's a great point to bring up too, because we talked about how IT can help you make money, but IT can also help you reduce risk a lot. Let's say you do get hit with ransomware, which isn't one of those things where it's like, it might happen to me. Like, there's a real chance it could happen to you. And if that does happen to you, you might be looking at, depending on what your bill or your revenue is, you might be looking at $100,000, $250,000, $500,000 bill just to unlock the files that ransomware threat actor hits you with. But it's not even really paying the ransom. It's the 2, 3, 4 weeks of downtime that your business experiences throughout that process that really kills you. Like, think about if a resort or a business with 250 employees that serves clients every single day can't work, can't send emails. Like, it's way more detrimental than the $100,000 bill that the ransomware guys are going to try to get you to pay.
That's true. Like, we're looking at, what was it? Wasn't ransomware or anything, but Delta Airlines when big went down. I mean, that's a lot of bucks that you lose when things go down like that.
Yeah, insane. That CrowdStrike bad patch was crazy. Biggest IT outage ever, they called it.
Did that affect you in any way?
No, we actually don't use CrowdStrike, so we got lucky there.
There you go. That's pretty good. All right. So what kind of lessons did you learn in growing your tech-focused business?
Yeah, so I think you could really boil business down to two things, which is acquiring new clients and keeping them happy. If you just simply focus on doing those two things, I mean, you're basically set, right? There's nothing really you need to do outside of those two things. Of course, keep your employees happy, but that's just a subset of keeping your clients happy. Because if your employees aren't happy, they're not going to provide good services to your client, which in turn will not keep your clients happy. So I think if you just focus on identifying people that have problems you can solve, and then do everything in your possible power to solve those problems, you'll win at pretty much anything you try to do.
So, Shay, sounds like your leadership skills go a long ways in was that employees do it to do the right thing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Leadership is a big thing that I'm continually working on improving, and I think it's one of the most important skills that any leader can have. If you're a leader, you probably should be good at leadership, right?
Yeah, that's kind of a good thing. And in the meantime, while you're doing all this, while you're running this tech-based business, helping all these people with the tech needs, you stay in good shape too, and you stay physically fit.
I try to. Yeah, fitness is a huge part of my life. I go every single day, and I wouldn't trade that for the world. It's a part of my routine, and I'd recommend that anybody try to get in it. Fitness is one of those really cool things where you get a really brief preview of what you're going to look like if you keep doing it. So when you lift weights, you get something called a pump, like your muscles get bigger. So every time you work out, you get a small glimpse into what you might look like 6 months down the road if you keep doing it. And there's not many things in the world where you get to see like a small window of what your future success will look like. I think that's one of the beautiful things about fitness and the gym, weightlifting specifically. So yeah, the gym is huge to me, and I absolutely love it.
What, do you have a specific time of day that you go every day?
Yeah, I like to try to minimize the time from when my feet hit the floor as I get out of bed to the time I get in my car and go to the gym. So I usually wake up sometime between 5:30 and 6. I'm a snoozer. I hit the snooze button once. I love that part of my day. And then, as soon as my feet hit the ground, I try to run to my car. I grab a Celsius, 200 milligrams of caffeine, and just head to the gym. Try to get home before 8 before the workday starts.
You get that blood flowing right away in the morning, you're all good to go for the rest of the day.
Absolutely. It really sets the tone for the rest of the day, because when you do hard shit or hard stuff in the morning, like you already did a ton of hard stuff. So the stuff that comes up throughout the day, you're like, I already tackled this, pushed myself to failure. I can probably handle this email I have to deal with. You know what I mean?
That's true. That's true. So do you handle all the customers yourself, or do you, as far as a one-on-one when you're going through their counseling and all that, do you handle them all yourself, or do you have other people in addition to your IT people that do customer acquisition and customer support?
Yeah, so we have a couple different teams. To answer your question specifically, I'm on our QBRs, so we do quarterly business reviews with all of our clients, and those are the calls that I'm on. But we have a team of people that handle more of the day-to-day, and then, of course, we have all of those technical teams that handle each of their own realm.
Gotcha. So you're going to be meeting with each one of your clients every quarter to go over their business, see how things are going, make certain that your IT team is keeping up with what they need, and see if there's any other future needs they may have.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I sometimes get pulled into projects. I'm a technical founder, so like I fell in love with the technology first and the business side of things second. And now I have to focus on all the business side of stuff. But I do find myself getting roped back into technical projects just because I have so much fun doing it. It's just like the problem solving, like it doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion.
Well, that's true with your background. What did you say? You were electrical engineering and...
Yeah, electrical and computer engineering, and I had a few minors. I think it was marketing, automotive engineering, and information systems or information technology. Yeah.
That's too awesome. Where'd you get your degree at? Or did you follow through with all that?
Yeah, so are you familiar with PSEO at all?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Cool. Well, it's a super, super cool program. I know they have it in the state I live in, which is Minnesota, but I'm pretty sure they have it in other states or maybe federally. But basically what it allows you to do is take the last 2 years of high school and get your associate's degree from a local community college for free. So it's funny to say, but I actually got my associate's degree like 3 or 4 days before I got my high school diploma. And then what I did was I went to a college under the same system down in Mankato. I went to Mankato State University. And since they were under the same system as where I got my associate's degree from PSEO, all of my credits transferred like directly. So I was able to fit those 2 majors and 3 minors inside of 4 years. And it was just a really cool scenario because of PSEO. So if anyone's listening to this and you have children or you yourself are considering it, I would absolutely recommend it. It's free college. It's fantastic.
PSDO.
PSEO. I think it stands for Post-Secondary Enrollment Option.
PSEO. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. That is awesome, because I know I went to Sac State and got a degree in electrical engineering with a minor in physics.
Hell yeah, a couple engineers. I love it.
So there you go. And then I then I moved to Austin and got my MBA in management information systems.
Nice. How was your time down in Texas? Did you enjoy it down there?
Yeah, I did. We spent 20 years in Texas, actually, over in Austin, the Austin, Texas area. We actually lived in a small town called Flatonia. But I went to work for Motorola Semiconductor,
Nice.
that became eventually it came Freescale Semiconductor, and then NXP. Is what
Okay.
they are now. We made chips in the manufacturing plant. Yep.
I love that. Those are worth a lot today. Everything needs
Yeah.
a chip.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I try and tell people about it, but they usually fall asleep when I'm telling about what I did. So
Oh
people
man,
would,
I love it.
you
Well,
probably like it. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say those type of conversations wake me up, so I'm sure I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So I'm with you. Electrical engineering. Yeah. If you can get an electrical engineering degree and a computer science degree, you can do just about anything. That's a big challenge to go out there and then get those. That's a lot of stuff you got to learn.
Always learning more.
Cool. So next for your company is mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
That's good. That's where you're taking it out into the field, bring in more people, bring in more clients. What else should people know? What have I not asked yet that I should have asked?
Yeah, so I think an important thing that people need to consider when they're having this conversation about their IT partner is the timeline that's associated with it. A lot of times people talk about the problems and solutions, and that's great, and that should probably be the first thing you talk about, but the timeline is really important as well. So let's say you in January, you're like, we have an IT problem, we need to fix this. And you kind of chew on it internally for 2 months, and then you start doing your real evaluation period where you're talking to different vendors, and maybe that pushes you out 6 months. So currently you're at 6 months from when you probably should have started solving this problem to where you're ready to make a decision. Once you make your decision, you've got an onboarding period where the MSP or IT partner that you choose fully ramps you up and gets you operational in terms of IT. A lot of times that process can happen anywhere between 3 to 6 months, which is a really long time for onboarding. Just for another data point, Nodix aims to onboard people between 3 and 6 weeks. So if you're looking to change IT providers, just be conscious of the fact that this could very well be a 12-month journey from when you're like, this needs to be fixed to this is now fixed. I'd just be conscious of that.
Good to know. Good to know on that one. So where can they find you if they want some more information?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is a fantastic place right now. Follow me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request, and DM me on there. Our website is also a fantastic place. It's just nodix.io.
Good deal. So LinkedIn, I'll have that down there, that Shay-Phillips on that one, and I'll put it in the Nodix website as well. Any last words before I go?
I just appreciate you having me on. This has been super fun, and I don't know if you knew this or not, but this is actually my first podcast ever. So I hope I didn't make a fool of myself or anything like that. I had an absolute fantastic time just kind of talking back and forth. It was really fun.
Cool. We'll put it in the notes, folks. If you like Shay and want to see him on again, we'll put him on again after he's had a little more experience. But yeah, like a pro, you know what you're talking about, and that's what counts. That's what people like to hear.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Gregory. This was awesome.
Thanks for that.
See ya.
Thank you, Shay.